Weird? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
weird is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's the nicest way we could put it on a podcast of this.
Yeah.
Rating.
I mean, she literally sits on his lap and says, how bad do you want to get out? And I was going to kill you, but my desire. And I'm like, okay, that to me, that just.
Yeah, I think that's meant to lead you in that direction, too, because it has a very TOS feel to it. Mm-hmm. The way she's dressed, the way she's acting. And they did a lot of that kind of stuff in TOS, or that kind of feel to it. But I think it was more of she was seducing him to murder. That's how I took it, which is why I think he did it. I like your version better, but that conversation is what really led me to him doing it. And like, I don't know, like the Orion slave girls, how they can get you to do whatever they want, that kind of thing. Yeah. I don't think she has that same ability, but he wants to get out. So
yeah. That's funny. You were talking about the clothing and how it reminds you of TOS. For me, it totally reminded me, which is a season 1 episode of TNG Justice. Them all in the white clothes running around everywhere. But that's a very TOS feel.
I think they were trying to go for a TOS feel in that particular episode too. So
yes,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole, dresses with like the mid missing or see-through sheer. That's It's very early Star Trek, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that would include early TNG.
Yes, because you look at the clothing and it's like, how in the heck is that staying on? Staying in place? I don't know.
Glue sticks.
Yes.
Glue sticks. But I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I just didn't think that back and forth worked nearly as well as in all the other ones. Yeah. In all the other times we've seen it this season, the two conversations were building on each other. These ones were, one was explaining why they should have done the other conversation. It wasn't really building together.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And I did notice that they tried to do it, like you mentioned. I was like, yeah, they didn't do it as well as that they had done in previous episodes.
I think the idea is that both conversations are grappling with the idea of killing someone. Right? But one of those conversations, she's already come to grips with she's going to kill her sister or whatever.
Yeah. Yes, agreed.
Or cousins, I guess. Because since they're twins, are they all sisters and some of them are twins? I don't know, but...
Yeah. So I really hope that I am right from day one that Narek is the bad boy. And so help me, Patrick, if they turn him at the last season for him to go against his Romulans and Narissa, I will be upset. Mark my words. Narek needs to be the bad guy. He's already told Soji to his face, well, we are going to destroy you. There is no saving him. There's no love that he has for Soji. Yeah, and if they turn that...
Wrong. He said that after she said, I pity you. But before that, he said, I love you. I really love you. He's going to turn. Just prepare yourself to be miserable.
No.
Because he's going to turn. It's going to piss off everybody. And this two-parter will be forgotten, much like the last episode of Enterprise.
Well, I don't know about that.
We're set up pretty well for it.
Another callback.
I mean, that's a great episode of TNG. It's just not an Enterprise episode.
I know. Oh, dear. But when Narek was in prison or isolation or behind the, thingamajig.
Yeah. Why'd they have that if they never captured anybody?
I know, right? I thought the same thing too. And, and Narek's like, oh, I need some water. I'm parched. It's in my bag. I'm like, please, I just can't stand him. And, he's like, is this how you treat your prisoners? And she's like, well, we've never had a prisoner.
That was a great line, though.
And then she asks, how do Romulans treat their prisoners? And his face, and he just sort of scoffs and is like, well, let's change the subject.
Yeah.
Totally made me think of TNG Chain of Command. There are 4 lights and the torture that Picard had to go through. And it's like, yeah, that's how you Romulans treat your prisoners. So yeah, let's not even go there.
Right, well, that was the point.
That was, for me, just great fan service done right.
Yes, because it's still a funny line if you don't know.
Exactly.
Because even if you don't know the Romulans, you assume they're really bad people, so they would treat their prisoners awfully.
Yep.
So, and if you didn't know that, you saw them just airlock all the Borgs that were being reclaimed, so you know they're not good people.
Right.
So the line still makes sense.
Yes.
But if you are a fan like us, then it makes even more sense.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So there's some fan service done right.
Yeah, I didn't say all of it was bad. I just said there was some of it that was bad.
Yeah, okay.
And before this, I didn't feel like there was any that was bad. So the bad ones stick out.
Really stood out, yeah.
In this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said you had other questions that I completely cut you off for a quick answer. That was an hour ago.
Oh,
Do you still have any questions?
One real quick, and I'm sort of on the fence. I haven't decided which, but seeing now Sutra and how radicalized and how tyrannical she is, do you think that Sutra is the destroyer or Soji? Because when people see Soji, they might not know, or because they originally thought Daj was the destroyer, that they had to kill her. And then they think, oh, well, maybe it's Soji. Well, maybe the destroyer is Sutra, because she's really...
Well, they thought her sister was too, right? That's why they killed her.
Right, they had to kill Jana, yeah.
They all look the same, so they don't know. So I believe yes. Or whatever this other being is going to look just like them too, and that's the destroyer.
So we don't really know exactly who the destroyer is.
No, I think it's safe to say it's not Soji at this point. Although, who knows? Because she does bring about this whole turn of events.
Yeah. And she agrees to get Picard, put in prison temporarily. And maybe that choice allows Sutra to go on her merry little way.
Yeah, the problem is, yes, I have a hard time with this, because if you're gonna go backwards and say, well, every little decision, which one is the one that really caused the destruction?
Right.
You have to go all the way back to Maddox creating them in the first place. So Maddox is the destroyer.
Yeah. Yeah, or soon.
Right, or whoever.
Yeah, how far back are you going to go?
Right, or whoever taught Soon how to do what Soon did. You know what I mean? His first teacher. So you can always keep going back and back and back. So I'm going to say, I'm going to wait till see what happens next episode. Mm-hmm. Because if the being that comes across this astral plane or whatever ends up happening looks like Soji, then that's the destroyer in my world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, you have answered all of my questions.
Okay. Glad I could help.
Yes. What I do want to ask your opinion.
You don't want my opinion.
Thinking back to when we meet Rafi and Picard's going to her with the bottle of wine and she's like, get out, I don't want to talk to you again. And we made that connection, like Picard is only coming to Rafi because he wants something of her. There was no communication previous 14 years. We know how Picard is. And then in this episode, Rafi, and we have the whole scene between them. So I want to know, did you like it? And did you like how Rafi had this complete 180 on her opinion on Jean-Luc and is thanking him for all that he's done for her?
I did, because go pick any person throughout history that has died, famous person, and all of a sudden all the stories come out are good. There's nothing about the negatives that happen in their lives or whatever. And I'm not saying we should focus in on a person's drug addiction or something like that in their death, but before they're dead, that seems to grab the mass media's attention or the human's attention. Now, once they die, it's, but they donated money to children, and they did this, and they had a beautiful voice, and blah, 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 and no one ever says anything bad. Well, Picard's dying. So that's the point we're at now, right? She's already reserved herself, because she said, I'm going to break the rules. Right. So she's already moved past, I've forgotten all the bad things that happened. I forgot about the fact that you forgot about me for 14 years, and for the fact that I got screwed by Starfleet, because he must have helped her along pretty far in Starfleet in order for her to get thrown out for his actions.
Yeah.
And the fact that he says it back is important. Because if he hadn't, I'd still think he was a jerk. I don't care that she said you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Because he shouldn't have to feel he has to. He should feel that way about her.
Yeah, that he should want to.
Correct. Because obviously they had a very, very, very special relationship post the attack on Mars. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't mean romantic or anything, but...
No, yeah.
But they were obviously closer than just two people who worked on a star. He was closer to her than anybody we ever saw in TNG.
Right. As evidenced by JL.
Correct. Even more so than Riker, his number one.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
I didn't know how I felt about it. I'm not too sure. I like that you like it, so that makes me like it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I did like it. And I think it makes sense. If you know someone's dying, you're going to try and make amends for the things that went wrong and forget them and move on.
Yeah.
So if she's done that, then it makes sense that she's back to what you've done for me. Yeah, you screwed a lot of things up too, but guess what? I am who I am. And by the way, I was right. Most of the reason why people think I'm crazy, I was right the whole time. And you were the only person who actually believed with me, even to some minute degree, that was true.
Yeah.
And I think she sees him for who he is. I mean, everyone has faults, and his fault was when everything fell apart, he went into isolationism.
Mm-hmm.
He was so embarrassed by what happened, he just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about this episode?
Well, I think overall, I really did enjoy this episode. I liked the fan service because I think that they did it right for a couple of them. There were definitely some, like Soon, that I didn't really care for. But the ones that I did see, I really enjoyed. I like the moving of the story. I really am very interested in this twist of the Synths coming to attack and them being, instead of it being the Romulans, because you pointed that out very clearly to me last episode. So I like the twist in the story, and I just think it's really cool. I'm hoping that next episode we will get a little bit more conclusion with the Borg, because to me that felt really, really flat, and that would be a shame to waste 7 of 9 and Elnor and the whole Borg storyline if they don't use that next week. I like seeing, Soji, like Issa Briones playing all the different parts, Sutra, like her Sutra was completely different character than Daj and Soji. Like Daj and Soji were a little similar, and it's like, okay, that's good, but Sutra, completely different persona, and so well done to Issa for pulling that off. I like the interaction that we're getting between, Rios, Girardi, Rafi, and Picard. I think that's a really nice dynamic. It really feels like a crew that's come together. I think they really trust each other, and I like the episode.
I don't think I made it as clear as I could during this talk that I did not like this episode. It was by far my least favorite of all of them so far. Now, I do reserve the right to change that opinion after seeing what happens next week. So I don't think it's fair of me to even rate the episode right now because we don't know where they're going with it. However, I do hate 2-parters in a serialized show. It's a 10-parter. This is part 9. It's not part 1 of something. It's part 9 of something. Mm-hmm. So just by them putting in the word part 1, it annoyed me a bit. They did it in Discovery too. They do it in a lot of shows. It's not just a Star Trek issue. But the idea of the way they're telling the story is that it's all one story right after another leading into the next. So for you to then break it into a 2-parter, it's almost like you're saying, well, these two are out of the main story and we're going to give you a separate main story to go by. They didn't really do that here, but it did feel a little disconnected at times, like the Borg ship showing up. That was stupid, and Soon being Soon again. Like, I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. It put me in a bad mindset just seeing the part 1 part to begin with. I didn't totally enjoy the episode. But again, like I said, depending on how this comes to be next episode, I might change my opinion of this episode. It might also change my opinion of episodes I thought were great that end up meaning nothing later on. So it's not really fair to judge a season until you've seen them all. And I make a great point. Like, when we did Discovery together, I couldn't stand that stupid thing that they had to steal all the information from.
Obel for Charon?
Yeah, until later when that meant everything. Mm-hmm. So when that episode came out, it was like, just another throwaway episode. And everyone was screaming, well, it's just an episode so we don't see Spock again. But it turns out it was really, really important.
Yes.
So, anything can change at any moment with these kind of serialized television shows. And I don't know. I guess that's about it. I understand what you're saying about now it's the Synths are going to attack. But remember, It's not that the Romulans aren't attacking.